week of the 8th through the 14th of November. It feels like home today, actually. It's really gray outside, a little just sort of drizzling. I just got back from a walk, which is, I walk a lot. I walk everywhere because that's my option of transportation at this point. But there's really not much else to do right now, so I've been going on lots of walks. Went and checked on the kittens that I saw again. They're there. Somebody's taking care of them, so it's good. They're very cute still. I just wanted to pet them, but they're so afraid of people. Anyways, also today I noticed a lot of people staring at me, which staring in Spain, not unusual. It's not considered rude here. People just stare. I've noticed, I don't know if I've just noticed it less or if it's just happening less now because people are starting to recognize me. Lucena's not that big, so I do see people again and again. I might not know their names, but I recognize them. So I've seen people and recognized people, and I think that I'm becoming more recognizable to a lot of people. Also, I see my students in the square every once in a while, and I wave to them, and they get all excited when they see me. But people were staring today. I don't know if it's because I was just wearing an exciting shirt. I don't actually see a lot of this isn't really a graphic tee, but anything with a lot of symbols or anything on it. But wearing my lacrosse shirt today, Go Bikes. Or is because I wasn't using an umbrella. People here, I swear, if it was just humid, they would be using an umbrella because it's slightly damp. It was barely raining today, and people were still using umbrellas. So that could have been part of it too. They're like, what is this crazy person doing? Not using an umbrella when it's raining. But I don't know. The curfew did change on Tuesday. Everything has been just reined in a little bit stricter. The curfew starts at 10 p.m. now instead of 11 p.m. And all non-essential businesses have to close by 6. So the taquerias, the bars, the restaurants, really, that's about it here that's not essential. But grocery stores, including panaderias, the bakeries, the fruterias, the little fruit shops or vegetable stands, can stay open. I think, they're considered essential. You need food. And pharmacies, basically drugstores, you can get medicine there, but also they have beauty products and shampoo and other various things that you would find in a drugstore. So that's all still open. So I guess then this week too, what has changed a little bit then for my routine, Yessie, Maddie, and I were going to get tapas, 3-4 times a week in the evenings, when everything kind of opened back up around 8 after siesta. But everything's closed by 6, so we've just been going right after school. And getting a tapa then, little lunch sort of thing. It's just so cheap and it's so easy. And I'm excited to try all these different Spanish foods and get to know, that sort of thing a little bit more. But so that's changed a little bit. I've just been going right after school and then going home and relaxing for a little bit, and then I'll go for a walk or work out or do something, do my lesson plans. Need to do that this weekend still. Yeah. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at school, fairly normal. Just did the same thing that I've been doing. Did my lesson plans over the weekend. And then Wednesday, the 5th grade teacher for the class that I have on Thursday morning texted me and was like, hey, I want you to go over this English, using simple present and simple continuous sentences, which grammar, I didn't know those had names in English, but they do. It's continuous are things that are happening in the moment. They're happening right now. Present simple are things that happen over and over. They're routine. A lot of commands and whatnot. Anyway, she was like, I want you to use these commands and talk through this experiment with them. And I was like, okay. I was like, have they done the experiment yet? It's the one where they you peel an onion and then you dye it with iodine and then look at it under a microscope so you can see all the different parts of the cell. I was like, have they done it yet? And she was like, you just need to go over the commands with them. And I was like, okay. And I didn't really understand what she was saying. I was like, I'll clarify it when I go pick up my first group tomorrow. So Thursday morning, I get in the classroom and I'm like, all right, I'm ready. Who should I take first? And she's like, no, I want you here. And I was like, oh, okay. Which I don't know if I'm supposed to do, but it was so much fun. I enjoyed it so much. I got to just like, I yelled and used my voice, which was great. And walked the kids through how to do this experiment. And we did onion, we did a tomato seed, and we did a leaf. And they all looked at it in the microscope. And they were all excited. They're like, come look. And I was like, yeah, I have done this experiment before. I know what a cell looks like. But it was so awesome to be like, them be so excited to show me something and asking me, oh, how do you say this in English? How do you say this? How do you spell this word? And I could translate what they were asking me in Spanish into English fairly well. It's the responses, but in the classroom it's fine because I'm supposed to be responding in English or supposed to be learning English. So I can figure out what they're trying to ask me because it's all simple stuff. It's like, how do you say this? How do you say this? And my nouns are good. My vocabulary is good. It's the verbs that are hard for me. Anyways, I just had so much fun. The hour flew by. When I've been working in these small groups, the first group or so is fine, but it just drags on after a while because I'm doing the same thing over and over and over, 4 or 5 times per hour. And it's just exhausting, and I'm tired, and I don't want to do it anymore, and I want to keep saying the same thing over and over and over during that hour, but I have to because all the kids need to get the same thing. And then, later in the week when I've already done that activity or whatever, like almost 15 or 20 times, I'm so tired of it. But hoping second trimester they're gonna let us get back into the classrooms, because at this point, like, I'm sitting across the table from the kids. I'm farther away from them in the classroom, standing at the front teaching, than I am sitting at a table across from them. So I don't know what the difference is, but whatever, rules are rules. But anyways, being in the classroom, so much fun. And then after school, that teacher came up to me. She was like, I hope you enjoyed. I was like, I had so much fun today. I really, really enjoyed that. I feel like I was being really helpful to these kids. She's like, great. I'm glad you, she's like, thank you. Cause I don't know if she's like, my English isn't good enough for that, to do that with them. And she's like, actually, I wanted to ask you, would you be willing to basically tutor me? She's like, I'll pay you. And we can work on it for an hour or so. I just want to work on my English. And I was like, yeah, that would be great. I've heard that a lot of people, I was expecting more students, but young students, and their parents to be interested in that. But she is super interested in it. I was like, yeah, great. And I texted her and I was like, okay, I've been thinking about this. I was like, I want to work on my Spanish. You want to work on your English. Would you be willing to do an exchange? You work on me with my Spanish, I'll work on you with your English. And then, don't worry about paying me. And she's like, yeah, that's great. How about next week? And I was like, great. So I have basically a language tutor, and I am a language tutor. So I'm excited because that means I'm actually going to be able to practice my Spanish in more of a context aside from, I would like this at the restaurant, or thank you. These are my groceries. Very simple interactions that I do regularly. So it's not really, it's practicing, but it's not really having a conversation. So hoping this will just really propel me forward as far as learning Spanish and becoming fluent. So that's good. I also secured a job for the summer this week. I reached out to Teresa, who was my boss when I worked at Bliss Ice Cream 3 years ago. Yeah, it was 3 years ago now. I was like, hi, so I'm planning on coming back to Spain next year, but I have to come home anyways to renew my visa. I'm going to need to save up money again, and I also need to be doing something. I can't just sit at home for 3 months. 2.5 months, 3 months, however long it is. And she was like, yeah, we're actually opening up 3 locations this year, so, or this coming year, so we're going to be busy. And I was like, great. I was like, 40 hours a week? She's like, yeah, we can do 40 hours a week. So I have a job, so that's exciting for the summer, which is fantastic. And then Thursday night, Maddie, Yessie, and I hung out with Javi, who was at the potluck a couple weeks ago. And he was telling us about the artwork on his walls, and he's like, actually, tomorrow I'm going to this little town called, I looked it up, Cortes de la Frontera. I couldn't remember what it was. He's like, I'm going to this town, so they're trying to boost their tourism when tourism opens again. A few years ago, maybe it's only a couple years ago, they had poets and artists paint all these poems all over the walls in town. So there's like, you can walk through town and there's just poems everywhere, and it's super cool. They're all in Spanish, so need to practice those. But anyways, Javi offered. He was like, I have to leave. I get to leave anyways because I'm going for work. He was like, you could come with me. And technically you're not supposed to be leaving Lucena, but it's, for work. He's like, you can come. We're like, we're not working tomorrow at school, so sure, that would be great. And he's like, I don't think it's not an issue. We'll just say you're working with me, or, bring your paperwork that says you are supposed to be teaching, blah, blah, blah. Nobody stopped us. It was not an issue. It appears that a lot of this is honor code as far as upholding these rules. Like, even when I was quarantining, nobody checked to make sure I was actually quarantining for 12, 14 days. Like, I got a call from the health officials, and they're like, you need to do this. And I was like, okay. And that was it. They didn't really check or anything. I couldn't go back to school, but realistically, I could have left and nobody would have known. So it seems like there's a lot of like just honor system here, which it's nice that people actually uphold that. But a lot of people have to travel in and out of the cities for work, or a doctor's appointment, or whatever thing. So there are exceptions to getting out of the cities. So he was like, technically it's for work, so you can come with me. We're like, great, let's do that. So Yessie and I went with him. Maddie, unfortunately, was working. She works on Fridays and not on Mondays, and Yessie and I work Mondays and not Fridays. So it was like a 2-hour drive. The city's right outside of Ronda. Anyways, the reason we were going, this artist is going to do murals for them as well, and have murals and try to just have another reason for tourists to come into the city and get them to spend money in their restaurants and cafes, and potentially, I don't actually know if I saw a hotel, but there might have been one. It's also close to all the there's a bunch of natural parks, which is, from what I can tell, our equivalent of like a state park or a national park, like protected areas that people can go and go on the trails or just wander around. And there's like a bunch of caves up. Actually, we saw that we passed. You could like see caves as we were driving. It's like up in the mountains quite a bit, enough that they do get snow in the winter. Not yet, so not as tall as our mountains for sure, but they do get snow, so it is up fairly high. And I could feel the weather was different too. Like, it was much colder, and the clouds were starting to move in. That apparently came all the way to here today too. But very, very beautiful little town. It was nice. Yessie and I just Javi and this artist went and had their meeting with whoever in the town was there, and then Yessie and I went and got we got coffee and tostada con tomate, just like piece of toast, pureed tomatoes, and then you pour salt or olive oil and a little bit of salt on top. Very good, very simple. It's like a traditional, that's like breakfast or brunch here. Just a nice little light snack, almost a bruschetta, I suppose. But we just did that and wandered around and looked at the town, and it was beautiful. You could see the mountains. And then we went and had lunch at this little restaurant, and the city was paying for it for us, including me and Yessie, even though we were just there. They're like, oh no, we'll pay for it for you. So got some lunch. I had asparagus soup. It was like a tomato-based soup with chunks of asparagus and mushroom, and then also an egg. Eggs are so popular here. People eat eggs all the time. But there was just like a whole egg in there that was like basically hard-boiled, soft. It was hard-boiled consistency, but there was no shell. And it was like obviously cooked in the soup. And you could just like see these horses like coming down the mountain because we're eating outside. You could just see the horses. I was like, wow, this is great. There's some vultures flying overhead too, so obviously something was dead. And then I had like a garlic chicken, like braised garlic chicken, But asparagus is apparently very, very popular in this. And I don't know if in Spain, but in this town, somebody was walking by and Javi's like, oh, look, there's like, she just went and picked asparagus. And she just has like stalks of asparagus in her hands. So that was like the traditional dish of this town. So I was like, I should get that. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it, actually. So yeah, did that yesterday. And then on our way back to Lucena, we stopped in Sentil, I think is the name of the city. It's also called Ciudad Famosa, famous city. And basically, all of the, like, part of the city has been built into the, like, cliff face and, like, into the rock. And it's pretty cool. Apparently, it's a super, super touristy place when there are tourists. But it felt like a ghost town when we were there. Part of it was that it was siesta, so, like, nobody was out and about. There's no tourists, and it was just so gray and cloudy and, like, chilly at that point that it just felt so dead. It was so ominous, almost. It was very weird, but I would like to go back, I think, when it's, like, busy, because it was really cool looking, super cool, and I think the tourists add something to that, and liveliness, and shops being open, and just, it was so cool to, like, look at, though. So we did a quick pit stop because we weren't technically supposed to be outside of city borders, but we were there and we had to go. We could go a different way, but we kind of had to go through this place anyways. So we just stopped and made it quick, and, you know, we didn't interact with anybody, so it's not like we gave anybody COVID if we had it. So yeah, it was nice to get out of Lucena for a day. So yeah, that's all that really happened this week. Excited for next week, this coming week. I need to do my lesson plans today. Don't know what I'm going to do with the kids yet. We'll find out. But easy breezy week, and I'm kind of getting into a routine, and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with uncomfortable situations, I suppose. Like, I went to the post office to pay my energy bill, because that's where you pay bills here, apparently. Because I got a letter from my landlord in the mail, and I was like, hey, this came for you, and he was like, no, open it, it's the energy bill, and I was like, oh, okay. He's like, it was 14 euros for, granted that was half a month, because it was October 16th or whatever to the beginning of November, so, but only 14 euros for half a month of electricity, which is just crazy to me. It's so cheap. But I went to the post office to pay for it, and the lady who helped me was obviously not happy. She was like, oh, do you have, it was like 1501 was my total after the fee or whatever. And she was like, do you have the 1 cent? Because I pulled out a 20, and I was like, no. And she's like, ugh. And then she just, like, threw my change at me, and I was like, all right, like, sorry, what did you want me to do about this? But that's, like, one of the few negative interactions I've had with anybody. But there was somebody waiting outside, and I was like, is that Linea? And I just did it without thinking. And I was like, I just asked her if she's in line. And she's like, no, don't worry, I'm just waiting for somebody. And I was like, wow, that was so easy. And so there's just moments like that where I feel entirely comfortable, and I don't have to think about what I'm going to say. How do I say this? I can just do it. And so just feeling more comfortable with life and daily life, and just how to do things in Spain. And it's, you know, I'm not, like, worried when I go to the grocery store anymore. I'm like, okay, like, how do I, like, is this different? It's not weighing on me anymore. When I'm, like, just, like, that slight anxiousness in the back of my mind of, like, okay, but is this process way different than it is in the U.S.? Is, you know, how do I do this here? I don't know. I haven't experienced this, but it worked out well. It was fine. And I'm becoming more and more comfortable with those moments. I'm like, all right, it's fine. And also, people here are so nice, except for that lady at the post office. But everyone else is so nice, and they're so willing to, like, work with you and help you, which is part of the reason I feel like some of my Spanish practice isn't going well, because people are trying to help me so much that they, like, start filling in for me. And I'm like, yes, but, like, let me say it. Let me come to that conclusion. I know it's taking longer than you normally would be doing with somebody, but my brain needs to process it still, because you all speak so fast here. So fast. They talk so fast. And I think that's part of my like, slow learning, is that everyone talks so fast. But it's okay. We're getting there, and I'm feeling more and more comfortable, and I'm really excited that I'm gonna be doing these tutoring, lesson, whatever, and just getting a chance to really practice my Spanish. So, yeah, that's the update for this week. I'll put some photos in, show what I did this week, and I'll see you later.
El perrito aquí también, controlando todo. Los machos ahí.
Last weekend, we also went up to, what is it called? Sierra de Araceli. So, Sierra is basically a mountain, a hill, something tall, basically, like Sierra Nevadas, the mountain range. But there's a church at the top of this hill, and like the only thing up there is this church, and like statues, and there's crosses all the way up, and it's about a 3-mile walk from where we were at, and it's probably about a 1,500 to 2,000 foot elevation gain, and it's all along the road, and it's like sidewalk for the most part, but a lot of people like walk up there, and like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't remember, but go to like give thanks to Araceli and go up to this church where, you know, this is her shrine essentially. And on the back half of the church is bar, which is really funny to me. It's such a common social thing here. People just go get a drink and that's what they do. But you can also, I mean, there's this beautiful view at the top of this hill, just like absolutely gorgeous. Of the surrounding areas. And you can see the mountains, and people paraglide or parasail, I can't remember which one it is, off this hill and like land down. There's like farms and farmland down in the bottom and all these olive trees, and oh my gosh, it was just absolutely gorgeous. And it was a beautiful day when we were up there. It was sunny, it was 75 degrees. So I'll put pictures of that in too, because it was just, so beautiful. I'll go up there again. Not quite the hike that I was hoping for. When you told me it was a hike, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna go on some trails, like in the, you know, on a hike, and then I was like, oh, we're walking up a hill, is what you mean. It was a bit of a hike up the hill, but it's not a hike, not a hiking trail. But there's a few hiking trails around here. They're like a half an hour to 45-minute drive though, so you need to either find somebody with a car or get a rental car to go do them that are like, you need hiking boots hike. But it was just absolutely gorgeous up there and so pretty. So I'll put some photos of that in too.